I had it up because I didn't want it to be heard. Hello. Oh, sorry. It's good.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, we're getting ready to start our Student Success Committee meeting. We begin by calling the order. Erica Benavides Garcia. Okay, meeting to order, I'm sorry. It is
5:30.
5:34.
Sorry.
Okay, now we'll go on with roll call. Erica Benavides Garcia here, Jackie Levin Ramos,
Present.
Cindy Luendo,
Present.
Patty Elizondo.
Present.
She's on her way. Okay.
Oh, she's online.
Oh, she's online. Okay. Hi, Patty.
Present.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started with the admissions office update. Mr. Jorge Rimas.
Good afternoon, distinguished members, President,
Thank you.
Administrator. Thank you so much for the opportunity. For the record, my name is Jorge Dimas. I am the Director of Admissions here at Laredo College. And today I'm here to present some of the updates, pressing information that's happening within Applied Texas within the last few weeks. So, can you hear me now? Better?
Well, we could
Awesome.
we could hear you the first.
Perfect. Awesome. Some of the things that we'll discuss today, definitely, it's what is Applied Texas? For those of you who are unfamiliar with, a brief summary of what this entitles, some of the updates and current issues that this Applied Texas platform is bringing to Laredo College, and definitely what is happening next as the application process or the application suite is changing the way community colleges and universities are collecting information. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with Applied Texas, definitely is the most used Texas application by institutions of higher ed. Definitely, this is the way that they're collecting information as students are applying for the institutions now. On June the 10th, Applied Texas actually relaunched a new platform, basically a redesigned platform that allows institutions to basically collect information also in a very different way. In a sense that they created a different layout for the students. That way students would be able to easily to apply to other institutions. Some of the benefits that Laredo Colleges pretty much enjoys as being part of it. Being partners with Applied Texas definitely is a free application for students. Students don't pay a single penny whenever they apply to Laredo College. Also, there's an easy transition for data collection. For those of you who are familiar with data processing, it is not an easy task to just input information on a manual basis. So this allows us to actually collect information a little bit more easier when it's electronic, on a file in electronic version. Also, the application allows us to collect one profile for the student, and then from there allows students to actually submit an application to other institutions. So that facilitates the students to not be redundant on the information that they submit on the application, and so facilitates the way that they apply into other institutions, or in this case for Laredo College. And also, there's definitely an easier process for students to apply because the information itself and the application itself guides students as they submitting an application to the institutions of the choice. In this case, hopefully, Laredo College. Some of the changes, again, that happened on June the 10th, definitely Applied Texas decided, and this is not new. Applied Texas had already announced that they were making some changes to the platform, announcing pretty much and alerting other institutions about some of the things that was happening within their platform. They knew that it required some attention as they wanted to make sure that the application continued to be flexible and accessible for students. So some of the things that actually changed now, the coordinating board actually took over the application itself. Now they wanted to make sure that it was streamlined and accessible by institutions here in Texas. Not only that, they also redesigned, and you can see on the very top, they redesigned the logo. Before they had a red star, now they have a little bit of a burnt orange star representing the Applied Texas logo. Also, they have a new layout of questions for students. Now, a lot of the questions that were part of the application process became mandatory as part of their profile, again, to facilitate the way students were submitting their application to institutions, though. And then definitely they even added an additional resources portion or section for students to even explore. Let's say that the students were not ready to apply for institutions itself, but they wanted to make sure that they would explore what institutions would offer per se, right? Without submitting an application and really looking into that. So they even offer an opportunity, redesign an opportunity for students to explore their careers, what institutions offer, and so on. Of course, just like any other launches, not everything is perfect. So there are definitely things that they're still working on and that all institutions are also collaborating with them. One of them is definitely the application coding. In other words, let me picture an example for you. One of the things that was happening, for example, is that students were submitting specific responses and the application itself was not responding to those actual responses. It was bringing up other type of questions that the student was not really relevant to or were not really familiar to. So that's something that's happening, but they're still working on, which is a good thing. Also, data transmission files. That's also another pressing issue that we're facing. Again, nothing that cannot be resolved, so don't be worried about it. Those are things that we're working on. However, the data transmission file is actually not matching currently some of the rules that we have in the system, in our banner system. So we're making sure that it matches, that it will not create an issue, and we don't have to create paper applications or submit stuff manually. So that's going to help us out with that as well too. Definitely the administration portal is also suffering some changes in terms of the actual access that we were getting. It making sure that also for us as administrators would have an easy understanding of what we have access to and what we could modify. The optional questions also making sure, making sure that they would allow some of the mandatory questions become a little bit more flexible for students. Again, is not a profile that fits all. It's definitely making sure that students would submit what applies to them according to the institution that they were submitting an application to. And then definitely the response turnout. Right now, again, because of the amount of partners, I believe if I'm not mistaken, there's 120 partners right now within Applied Texas in the state of Texas, and everyone is pretty much submitting tickets. And the word tickets is basically a report that they send to the company, to the agency, making sure that they respond to whatever pressing issues they have currently. One of the things that I do want to highlight is that not all institutions pretty much have the same type of application per se. They can also have an opportunity to manipulate according to their needs. Again, Laredo College does not have an admissions criteria per se that allows or that creates this type of barriers for students to continue their admissions at their higher institution, though. Other more selective institutions do have other type of criteria, and that's where it's creating also additional response turnout, just because, again, not everybody's pretty much on the same pace on that. And that's kind of the coordinating board was trying to eliminate to avoid this type of issues and making sure that it's more streamlined for all institutions here in Texas. Now, what is next for Applied Texas? Yes, there's a lot of changes and we embrace changes and challenges, right? At Laredo College, there's actually one of the things that we're really happy on is that there's actually an Applied Texas live update that they provided. It's a dashboard that they included available for all institutions to see where we stand in terms of whatever tickets we have submitted. Again, tickets are responses or are reports to the agency in terms of what is affecting our application process. This is great because it allows us to see the movement that's going on and when any other institutions that are actually going through the same pressing issues. Another great thing is that Apply Texas also created a new help desk, which is actually a great thing because it allows us to actually streamline the responses that were submitted or the tickets that were submitted by institutions. So again, this also allows us to also see what's happening with the dashboard live updates and see what other institutions were actually facing. Over 500 tickets. Yes, this is, I know, a little bit surprising, but over 500 tickets, reported issues are still pretty much on the works. But again, we are getting responses. So it's a good thing. We're happy. Don't get me wrong, definitely it's affecting our application process for summer session 2. But again, we're working hand in hand with Apply Texas to resolve a lot of these issues that, again, every lounge will present every time that they create something new. There's definitely an upcoming technical update July 1st. We're working actually close hand in hand with the Department of IT here at Laredo College, making sure that we're ready for any new changes that may affect our application process. And then definitely continue reporting any unusual situations as we definitely continue to hear from students. They continue to report to us any of the challenges that they're facing when they're submitting an application. And of course, us reporting it to the suite, to Apply Texas, to make sure that it definitely gets a response and we're able to assist the student in the event that we face those same situations with another student. And that is my report. Again, we're still working with Apply Texas. There are still some challenges that we're still facing. However, again, I am confident that we'll actually resolve this. Nothing to worry about. This is something that they're also familiar with. We're working with all the institutions as well. So we know that this is definitely going to get fixed. However, it is one of those things that, again, higher education is changing. And we want to make sure that we change it for the good, that we create accesses for our students, and that we continue moving forward. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a question. Mr. Dimas, how is this information communicated to students and how often is it communicated?
Great question. As a matter of fact, recently we launched an announcement not only for students, but also to the employees. We use our social media, we use our platform emails as well, letting them know about what was happening right now with their application. So students are aware that these were some changes that happened. I can tell you right now that we're actually in a good position to say that our application continues to be open. Other institutions decided to close it for other reasons. I want to say also Manpower too, in the way, in the dynamic that's happening. For us, it continues to be open. Students are aware of that, but we're also working with every single student who's having issues, seeing the most updated information on our website though.
And so if they're having issues, they are being able to speak to somebody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The office of, actually, I would say the enrollment management is taking care of all the customer service. We're really excited to say that we're collaborating with each other and disseminating that information with everybody, because at the very end, it's not only the admissions process, but it's everything that entitles for a student to be ready first class.
Anybody else?
And
Thank
just, if I may, Madam Chair, the coordinating board has continuously sent us updates on where they are. This originally was housed at the UT system, and the coordinating board has taken it over. And as we transition through that process, every institution that uses Applied Texas has had issues because everybody uses, you have about 50% of the institutions on Banner, then you have some sort of Banner or Illusion product, and then you have others on PeopleSoft, and you have others that are using other platforms. Some are using homegrown platforms. And to get this to upload electronically has created some barriers, and therefore creating all this angst amongst everybody. I think once we get it all cleared up, and it should be hopefully before the end of summer, it'll be much more reliable. We did nominate Mr. Dimas to serve on the state committee of Applied Texas. We haven't yet heard back, so hopefully he'll get selected and we'll have a voice on that state committee. And with his expertise in the technology, it certainly helps make sure that we get our students processed. But we do want to notify the public, and they've been working with PR to make sure that they know if anybody emails admissions@laredo.edu, they're going to get a response, and the response has been about a 24-hour turnaround.
Okay.
If they call any one of the offices within enrollment management, somebody better have the right answer. Am I correct? Okay, just saying. And they're getting serviced or making sure that they get someone who can provide them with the right information. So.
Thank you. Thank you for all your hard work.
We'll continue to,
Yes.
sure.
So the application is one time, the first time that you apply?
That is correct. After 1 year, the student has left without enrollment. We ask them to resubmit an application to update the verification process and their information.
And it also applies to dual enrollment students too
That
as
is
well?
correct.
Well,
Thank
and there's one, so when the student applies as a dual enrollment, when after they graduate from high school, they still have to reapply
Yes.
as a regular student.
Mhm. Yeah.
Or now what we consider a true FFR or first-time student in college.
Yes.
Because their status changes. And so we have to have that separate application. If a student leaves and is out for more than 12 months, they'll have to reapply. What we've come to find out is that our students are very mobile. Many of them will change addresses. We have found students who have more than 14 addresses.
Wow.
And some have more than 10 telephone numbers. So listed in the system.
Mhm.
And so I mean, that's another process that we're working on in trying to clean up addresses and phone numbers. And so it's all to validate and verify the student. Because if you remember, House Bill 8 requires us to track the student for 1 year after they graduate, and it's very difficult to do that if we don't have the appropriate information.
Right.
And so this is part of that process.
We have that same problem at school. Different names, different phone numbers, different addresses. So we're in the same boat.
We're
You know.
hoping that we achieve our goal pretty soon.
No, you will. Hopefully at least a little bit.
Any other questions?
That's it. Good
Perfect.
job.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good job.
Appreciate it.
Next, we'll move on to the student life update. Mr. Pedro Rivera.
Good afternoon, Madam President, members of the board. Pedro Rivera, Director for Student Life, for the record. I'm here today because I wanted to provide some of our updates regarding our new student orientation and the Palomino Pantry. Let's see here. So I will preface this presentation by articulating that many of the things that I will talk about today are intangibles. And by intangibles, I mean, it is very difficult for us to quantify or qualify the collaboration that we're harnessing and the genuine impact that we're giving our students. I've added as many numbers as possible to our presentation so that we're able to, provide a better picture of what are some of the efforts that my office is leading. But at the end of the day, many of the things that we'll be discussing today are intangibles, and we'll see more as we continue moving forward. But first and foremost, in terms of our student orientation, the same objectives that we had last year carry on to this year. And we want to make sure that our students are knowledgeable and are familiar with the different support services and resources that we have available for them at Laredo College. I've worked at multiple institutions, and I can generally tell you this. Laredo College offers many support services that are unique to Laredo College and that are unique to the demographics that we service. And we want to make sure that we provide information regarding those to the students that we see through orientation. We also want to increase just how familiar the student is with our campus for them to basically know where their classes are at on the first day of class. Tell them where the library is at, tell them where the restrooms at, tell them where the cafeteria is at, things of that nature. We also want to increase institutional affinity. We want to make sure that our students leave orientation being proud of the fact that they're Palominos and being proud of the fact of the many things that we offer to them. And last but not least, we want to make sure that we build connections with our students and between our students so that they have a support structure for whenever they start classes on the first day of class. Now, in the past, we've had this conversation. Our student orientation leaders are continuing to lead this program. This year, to be completely frank with you, my student orientation leaders are helping me a lot. And that's the whole point of the student orientation leader program. Our office is basically providing these students with a developmental opportunity to lead orientation sessions, develop content, and just act as a resource for our incoming students. We do have a couple of dates available for our new student orientation. Those dates are are in your screens. We do have one for this upcoming Thursday. We have a total of 228 students registered for this upcoming session. Mind you, I will be candid, registration does not equate attendance. We usually expect for about 80% of those students to actually show up the day of. We send them multiple email reminders, text message reminders, and phone calls. But just in efforts of transparency, we do expect about 80% of those 228 to actually show up the day of. Right now, we are pondering whether we add additional sessions since we did have to cancel last week because of the rain and the weather. We'll see how many people register for the orientations and how many people actually show up. We also have to compare with our FTAC reports and see just the genuine need for doing stuff like that. But so far we're doing relatively well. This is our schedule. So last year, one of the main things that you will be able to notice is that our orientation was actually a little bit longer. And I'm a huge believer in feedback from the students. One of the number one feedback that we received from students was, hey, make a little bit shorter, have things to do during the summer. And we listened, and that's one of the things that we do in our office. And so instead of finishing our orientation at 8 p.m., we're actually going to finish it at 6 p.m. And we actually incorporated a working lunch. During that working lunch, we go over LC history and traditions. And truth be told, this is one of the intangibles that I was going to mention. The other day, I was walking to the gym, and I realized that there was two young ladies, tapping or petting the palomino. And that's actually one of the traditions that we teach our students. We tell them, hey, you want good luck in your final exams or anything that's going on in life, go pat the palomino and you'll get the good vibes and spirit from LC, and they're going to help you. And we laugh about it, but the fact that they were doing it is showing us that orientation is actually working, and that this is something that the students that attend orientation actually have in common. And so I just wanted to throw that in there. It was super hot. I hope their hands are okay after the fact, but I just wanted to throw that in there. I think it's working, and seeing those things actually, it helps me become more energized to do stuff like that. This year, we're continuing on harnessing those collaborations that I mentioned before. So for instance, we have our financial aid basics and working on campus presentation that is actually led by Ms. Jessica Trevino. She was able to help us last 2 weeks ago. Our students love that presentation. If it comes to money, they're going to pay attention, of course. And like I said, we're shortening our orientation. We do have a couple of changes that I did want to cover with you all moving forward. Shorter sessions, we've already covered that. There's Texas state legislation that is requesting for new student orientation sessions or modules to have an additional focus on mental health. And so we are doing that. We do take our students to the Counseling and Disability Services Center here on campus during our campus tour. We do mention it. We have more of a heightened approach when it comes to that during our sessions led by the orientation leaders. I want to make sure that I'm transparent about that. A new thing that we added this year, actually, that was very successful in our first orientation was actually providing optional orientation sessions for students in Spanish. I think it's a resource that we need to have based on the demographics that we service, based on the geographical location that we're at. And the results speak for themselves. Our optional Spanish orientation session was actually the one that had the highest number of people in our first orientation sessions. We'll see how it goes for the rest of the summer, but I genuinely think that moving forward, this is something that we will continue offering. This year, we used it last year just in order to send reminders, and I think this is a good segue for Signalvine. We're using Avaya, which is a texting feature that's available to us, kind of a text hotline. And so, for instance, if a student has a question or they have a concern regarding their upcoming first year of class or the registration, you name it, I have dedicated student employees in my office that are basically there throughout our hours of operation, answering those text messages that come in. And aside from that, we use it for reminders for registration, cancellation notices, like we did last week. And so far, it's been working really well. I think this is a good indicator of the success that Signalvine will have at Laredo College. Moving forward, next year, I do want to have an in-person parent orientation session. My office is currently in the process of hiring an assistant director that will hopefully take care of that moving forward. I already have the content and the information that will be covered throughout those parent orientation sessions in mind and created. I just need someone to actually run it. But if you have any more questions, please let me know. I think overall orientation has transitioned. It has evolved a little bit from last year, but overall, I think we're doing really good in terms of that. Questions, comments, concerns?
No, thank you. No.
So moving forward,
Ms. Ramos had a question.
I am so sorry.
I just wanted to remind, under the financial aid section, to remind students why we don't allow loans. Because a lot of students are asking those questions. Why can't I borrow? Or am I gonna have to go outside of school to borrow money to come to school? But I think if we share that message, that continuous message of why, what is the purpose, what is the reason? We understand it. But in terms of a broader spectrum, people just, like, I try to explain that to them about the default and everything else. And so I tell them, there's a lot of resources available because we don't allow those loans to take place, the student loans. So
I think the easiest response for that, Ms. Ramos, is gonna be, you won't need to borrow money. There is no need. If a student qualifies for full Pell and they get the 2875, an average of 12 hours here costs $1,600, so they're gonna get a refund. Plus their TEOG, if they're working on campus, they're gonna have money to spare. Actually, they get a lot more money to take home than we take to pay for classes. So there's no need for anybody to borrow money. And then with the Palomino Pledge, if it's approved on Thursday, nobody's gonna pay anything. So there is no need for there to be a loan. And they go over the process of what is the 3 hours, what does the 3 hours cost, and then what is the financial aid the grants cover. So you all are welcome to come sit in the sessions if you'd like. I think it's very informative. And that's one of the reasons why we talked about adding a parent session to explain to parents why they don't need to borrow money. Really, a lot of our students are loan averse to begin with. The ones that borrow money typically were using the money to pay for something else.
Right.
And which is why the federal government really cracks down on that. And it affected our all of our ratings, the default. I don't know that everybody understands that. You're right. But certainly it's easy to show you're getting this much and it's costing you this much, and this is how much you're going to get returned to you.
I guess the question comes from those students that don't qualify for financial aid,
Mhm.
especially parents of parents who are educators. I hear this question all the time. My student doesn't qualify, and that's why I don't fill out the FAFSA form. Let's fill out the FAFSA form anyway.
You never know.
You never know. There's other resources available. So if any of the students that are in the orientation are in that dilemma, I think it also, when you talk about the parent sessions that could be happening for them too, there's another thing that we need to stress to them, and that is that when the student comes to school here and they don't allow the parent to get their information, that's something we need to stress to them and put it as a positive thing. Like I shared that with my daughter when she came to school here, and I said, don't think that I'm spying on you. I'm actually helping you. If you need something or whatever, I'm able to ask for you. And it didn't happen at that time. It didn't happen anytime. But I even tell her when she went out of town, I said, help me to help you.
Right.
And so, because a lot of the kids are like, that's my business now. And if we stress it as 18-year-olds, or you're no longer have to answer to your parents, there's like a line that the parents are like,
Most
what
definitely,
happened, you know?
most
So
definitely. FERPA is definitely one of the points of interest for the parent orientation that we were developing. And just going back to the financial aid, I do think that those points of that nature are being communicated with our students.
Thank
We
you.
do tell them, loans and working on campus and aid. As a matter of fact, we even make them pull out their finances, make them log in through their phone so they can actually see that in
Okay,
hand.
good.
And so that helps us in multiple ways. They're able to log into the Wi-Fi first day of class. They're able to see. They're able to become familiar with that platform as a whole. So we're working on that.
Thank you
I
very much.
appreciate the concern.
Appreciate it.
And for clarification, anyone who wants to even qualify for a scholarship will have to have a FAFSA online.
You have to.
Even for scholarships, you cannot get any institutional aid without a FAFSA.
Mhm.
So.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes, I'll continue with the information on the Palomino Pantry. And this goes back to the intangibles that I mentioned before, but I genuinely think that as an institution of higher education in our geographical area, we should be committed to the success of our community. And this type of support that we provide the community is basically going to increase the college going attitude or culture in our community down the line. And one of the things that I do want to emphasize is that the Palomino Pantry is not only helping students, but they're also helping the families of the students that we service here at Laredo College. And so before I go into the actual numbers, I do want to emphasize that our agreement with the South Texas Food Bank is proving to be very fruitful. In essence, the South Texas Food Bank is benefited by working with Laredo College by creating additional food distribution sites. And we have to be completely transparent about that. We're able to increase the South Texas Food Bank is able to increase the scope of support that they can provide to our community simply because of the fact that they have 2 additional working sites that have really, really good hours of operation in comparison to the rest of the sites in Laredo. And it actually provides the South Texas Food Bank with a very unique partnership in terms of having an actual partnership with a premier higher education institution in South Texas. In terms of how Laredo College benefits, however, we have to take into consideration that we genuinely receive food at a discounted rate. We pay pennies to the dollar. They also provide us with technological support. And so, for instance, if you were to go to the pantry, we have tablets, laptops, and software that is basically making it easier for us to manage the influx of community members and students that we're servicing through the support of the South Texas Food Bank. We also get something called freebies. It's a colloquial term that we use, but it's basically a free product as the name entails. In the past year, our Palomino Pantry came to, the keys were handed off to me in October. And these are some of the numbers that we had this past year, towards the end of the year. But one of the things that I wanted to highlight with you all is actually the usage numbers for this year. I think the changes that we were having back in 2023 were very initial, for the lack of a better term. I think it was the first steps towards what we're doing now and establishing the pantry as a premier location for support on campus. And you can see that by just the numbers of the individuals that we're helping. Just for context, the South Texas Food Bank sees the Palomino pantries both in the South Campus and in the Fort McIntosh campus as 2 separate entities under the same college. And that's the reason why we divide the numbers like that. But in essence, in the past 3 months, we have basically serviced approximately 450 people or individuals per location. And I just wanted to share that with you. It's difficult to quantify just how much a month's worth of food can help a family. But if we had to boil it down to the individuals that we service, children and adults combined, it's approximately 450 people per campus, per pantry. Now, another thing that I did want to share is our Palomino Pantry also counts with a care center. And this is actually one of those collaborative efforts that I was trying to talk about earlier. And it's difficult to quantify, but we're bringing the college together to help a student in need. And in essence, we are able to get many different departments that can provide their own specific expertise on subject matter. They can help students succeed in more ways than one. And so, for instance, in terms of housing assistance, we work with Point of Contact, Ms. Andrea Lopez, and we basically work on our partnerships with the Laredo Housing Authority to provide housing assistance for students. If a student needs emergency financial aid, we work with enrollment management and Ms. Jessica Trevino to provide the student with that additional financial aid or assistance. If a student has a technological need, they need a laptop, they need something to complete their homework at home, they can't come to school, we work with the library and we provide those technological assistance to them. And we also have some students that may need some sort of counseling need, and we work with the counseling and disability centers to do that. This is actually fueled by Maxient, which is our reporting form software, and it's proven effective so far. And I think it's interesting to see that more departments are coming together to help individual students in need, and I wanted to highlight that. We do have a lot of current and future plans now that the pantry is operating as it should. And many of the current and future plans are pretty big, but I wanted to share them with you. The number one thing that we're doing so far, and as of now, is actually working with our grants department to try to get as many grants as possible to not only sustain the pantry, provide the monies that we need to operate the pantry at the level that we wanted and at the level that we needed, but also to fund, unique projects that we have in mind. In the past, I've mentioned this to Dr. Ramirez. I would love to have refrigerated lockers on campus. Right now, I'm working with the grants department to figure out a way to get funding to do that, and decrease the cost that would come to Laredo College for doing that. That's a very interesting project. If you have any questions, I can provide more information about that. Moving forward, in partnership between the Office of Student Life and the Recreation and Esports Office, we're going to be providing hygiene products to females in the locations that are listed up here. I think it's a need. We're able to get discounted product from the South Texas Food Bank and from other partnerships that we have through the pantry. And so it's a service that our students need, and that is actually going to keep them on campus in case of an emergency. We're working in partnership with the Workforce Development Center to create or to better promote our career closet. I think students know that the student has the option to get free clothing from our pantry, but they don't necessarily know that we have a career closet. And so they need to take professional headshots. They need to go to an interview. They can literally stop by and get those professional dress for free. We have an upcoming project during the summer, which is going to include a storefront for our Palomino pantry to make it look nice and pretty and just create a welcoming environment that combats the taboo that is associated with asking for help. And in terms of the South Texas Food Bank, I actually have a meeting with them tomorrow. And this was very interesting and important because it's basically what we call retailer connections. In essence, the food pantry would be able to partner up with different local retailers, huge retailers, like Big Lots, Starbucks, H-E-B, Olive Garden, get product from them and give them out. One of the projects that we're thinking about is actually, for the lack of a better term, creating a soup kitchen from Olive Garden. The Olive Garden basically has tons of product, and they tell us, hey, you're a food pantry. We'll give you tons of frozen soup, sopa toscana, heat it up, give it out, and let your students come in. Starbucks does the same thing with their pastries. So I genuinely think this is something that's going to bring in a lot of students and keep them on campus.
And this is something those organizations do nationally, and we found out about it at a conference.
Very good.
Yes, so I think it's going to be interesting. I think a lot of students are going to benefit from it. And I mean, who doesn't love Olive Garden? So that's going to be really good moving forward. And I think one of the projects that we're currently working on, and it highlights the importance of promoting what the pantry is doing, is our partnership with our marketing department and just trying to increase traffic and create a brand for the rebranded Palomino pantry. That's pretty much it. Questions, comments, concerns?
So I have two suggestions.
Of course, absolutely.
So under your hygiene products, there's a place called First Book Marketplace. And they sell hygiene products for less expensive in bulk.
Perfect.
We are considered a nonprofit organization. Right. And so you can buy them in bulk. So one of the other things that I think would really work with the whole, it's the Palomino Pantry is not just about food. It's about fueling, individuals. That's what it is. You're giving them life, right? By the Palomino Pantry. If you could offer a section there where you can set aside some books and people can pick them up. We can give you donations. We can get you donations, and people can just come and pick up 2 or 3 books at a time. They want a book, take a book, kind of like a little library.
Of course.
And it's like it's a box, and people go and drop off and pick up. And
we have
so
we
if
have
you have one,
we
then-
have one. We also give a lot of school supplies,
Mhm,
notebooks, folders, and stuff. Could you repeat the name of the supplier?
website.
the First Book Marketplace.
First Book Marketplace.
It's firstbook.org.
Okay.
And they sell a variety of books in bulk, and they also sell the hygiene products. And they have resources available. They also have, if we apply, they can get a code so that they can look to the books online. But you would be the sponsoring, organization. So like if you would like a QR code, stop by the Palomino Pantry and you have free access to as many books as you want to
Interesting.
through that organization. And you can get as many as 500 codes for free. So First Book Marketplace is really good. They're the ones that actually we coordinated with them to get that first trailer, which I think you had just come in. It was a year before
Still
last.
have books.
You still have
We're
books.
still giving them away.
Yeah, and you're still giving them away. So that was a collaborative effort between organizations and the First Book Marketplace. I requested 2 trailers and then I made a mistake because I didn't know what a trailer was. So I got 20,000 books and all the books ended up in my library. But art school got 10,000 books. And so those books have been given out. I still have a lot of books
We
too.
have
And I
tons.
continue to work collaboratively with different organizations. So, I mean, even those books, or there's other opportunities to get books that you only pay for the shipping.
Nice.
And, but the hygiene products are available there. I have not purchased them because I haven't had a need to purchase them in my library. But certainly you might be able to get some of them at less expensive price than you
Most
would
definitely.
in other places. So,
Most definitely. Thank you. I appreciate it. I really do.
thank you.
Okay, anything else? Are you done with your?
Yes,
presentation?
I think I'm good to go.
Ms. Yandel?
It's a lot.
Dr. Ramirez?
No, I think we're good. I mean, we have been on the books. We still have tons. We give them out at Fun Fest, at Fall Fest, at the tree lighting
GA.
ceremony. And then we have the little boxes where people put books and take books. So we have those available too, but it's always good. I mean, we never have enough.
Is your little free library registered? Or it's just a library, a box, a little library that you,
No, it came from somebody.
They gave us a wooden box. I think it came as a donation, however. I'm not sure if
It
it's
came through
registered.
Rotary, I don't know, remember which organization put it here.
I don't think it's registered.
okay. Because you can register that. And once it's registered, like that's called the Little Free Library. And it's Little Free Library.
I've seen those in parks. I've seen those.
Something.
I've seen
You
those in
put the
parks.
little plaque on it and it
Yes.
says Little Free Library.
Yeah, we don't have a plaque.
It'd be
It's
so
just-
cute, like,
I can get that for you.
yeah, yes.
Yes.
We can find out, but we need
Yeah.
to register it. That's what I'm saying. So if you already have the box ready and everything, it's just a matter of registration. We can look it up on Little Free Library. I know they do it in some of the parks.
Yes.
They have it in some of the parks, so it's just so that it can be registered.
We'll check with the library. Maybe the library director knows.
Yes, I'll double check. Thank you so much. I appreciate
Thank
the
you.
feedback.
Thank you.
Cool.
Okay, then we'll move on to number 5. Learning, engaging and academic support through data-driven action. Lead grant introduction. Ms. Elaine Almanza Ortega.
Thank you. Good afternoon, board members, Madam President. For the record, my name's Elaine Almanza Ortega, and I'm the lead activity director for the Title V LEAD project. Title V LEAD stands for Learning, Engaging, and Academic Support Through Data-Driven Action. And I'm going to provide a brief overview of what the LEAD project is and its activities. The LEAD project is a U.S. Department of Ed grant. It was funded or awarded October 2023, and it runs for 5 years. The main goal, if I were to summarize the objectives, is to meet students' holistic needs, so academic, social, and emotional needs. We have various activities that are all around those student needs to enhance academic success. One of our first activities, and this is really the activity that starts the grant, is going to be the Summer Bridge. The Summer Bridge is scheduled for next month. It will run for 2 weeks. And these 2 weeks could really be separated, where the first week is going to focus on college resources so that they continue to familiarize themselves with the various departments and offices and services that are offered on the college campus. And then the second week, we're going to focus on TSI preparation. So our Summer Bridge is going to be tailored for students that have not passed one or all areas of the TSI. So students could expect college resources, school supplies. We're going to have the TSI prep courses being taught by the district teachers that have experience in those college prep TSI courses. And we're also going to provide a stipend for the completion of those 2 weeks, which is $300. Once those 2 weeks end, we do have testing dates for them. So we have scheduled the math for the Friday after the 2 weeks, and then we have the ELAR for the following Monday. So students would need to complete both of these plus the TSI in order to receive the stipend. 2 other components that we are developing currently is the LEAD Center and the e-learning wellness hub. The LEAD Center is going to be a space for relaxation, meditation. It's essentially a space for students to take a break from their classes. They have a test, they need to relax, they could attend the LEAD Center. We're providing evidence-based services to students in order to manage their stress or anxiety. Students could also visit with a licensed professional counselor. We will have one available. When students visit the LEAD Center, we're also going to refer to the college resources. So the college is going to be the primary provider of these services, because we don't want there to be a lack of disconnect between the student and the college. So we're going to be the middleman to continue to let them know what services are offered by the college. The e-learning wellness hub is going to be a hub where we have students, we're giving the students opportunity to work on their homework, their studying, to continue to learn while doing some sort of physical activity. An example of the equipment that we're going to be having are stand-up desks. So we're trying to mitigate that sedentary behavior. We're going to have bike desk. Research shows that if we're doing some sort of activity, we're able to retain more of that information that we're working on or that we're studying. So we'll have laptops also to lend out to students so that they could come visit the hub and work on their homework, their essay. So both of these are located at the Cason Student Center. So it's a very centralized location for the students to visit us. The LEAD project will also offer professional development for faculty. So every year we're going to select 10 faculty, and this is done in collaboration with the Dean of Academic Innovation and Technology, We have an application already in place, but this selection process will be made until August. So through August, until May of the following year, we're going to have a series of these professional developments where faculty are going to learn innovative OER, open educational resources, on how to create these materials. And this is going to help us to have students have access to educational materials that is going to be created by our own faculty. We also have an endowment component for year one of the grant, which we are currently in. This endowment amount has already been matched at 50,000. And our last component, which is really large, is our data collection. It's in our name, and for every activity that I have mentioned, we're going to have feedback from students so that we know how to make the changes for next year. We're also measuring non-cognitive skills. We're gonna have a non-cognitive assessment starting our summer bridge, and we're also going to do a mental health screening. So this will give us an insight into the students' emotional intelligence, so that we could provide them with the resources necessary. The non-cognitive assessment and the mental health screenings are both going to flag the different needs that each student has. Another big data collection is going to be academic metrics compared to the interventions that we are providing. So every intervention that we have is going to be measured to see, did this intervention have an effect on the student's success? So preliminary data, we're going to get it at the end of this year after one semester, and then we're going to present full data in May of next year or summer. And that's going to give us the results on student success for year one of the grant. We also want to supply the college with empirical data on healthy habits. So we're really focusing on the students' overall well-being, academic, physical, mental, healthy eating. They're going to have engaging workshops throughout the semester, either by a counselor, and we also have a coordinator that will provide workshops relating to the LEAD Center, which is that relaxation reflection space. All of this will be reported after year one, and then that's where we will make changes based on what those results are telling us. So for year two, then we might make changes to that summer bridge. We'll bring in different equipment for the LEAD Center or different equipment for the hub, and then changing that professional development to meet what the students are needing as well. So that's just a brief overview what the LEAD project is. Any questions or comments?
Ms. Ramos? Is your summer bridge program is for all students or?
Admitted LC students,
Okay.
yes, that have not passed one or all areas of the TSI,
So not the duals,
not the dual.
not the duals, okay.
The duals have their own bridge.
But they're coming here, no?
Yeah, we're doing it right now
Yes, right.
for the
Okay.
dual. This is for students who graduated from high school that didn't pass TSI.
Okay,
There are that they want to come here in the fall or wanted to start in the summer, and they don't want to take developmental. They want to go into a regular program, and so they would rather do the bridge program. Very good.
Yeah, so it's high school graduates, and we're also accepting returning students as well.
Correct. Good.
I
Mhm.
like the room, the Zen room.
Yeah,
We call it the Zen room at school.
the Zen room,
Yeah,
yes.
and but right now it's only for teachers and for staff.
Okay,
So we created a Zen room, and in the library, in both libraries, because I work at the ninth and then the main one. And they have all of these items. We're not opening that up yet to the kids because the Zen room is in high school, it's a little bit different. Can't have a closed room
Mhm.
and for them to go. So this is nice for them so that they can see that those are some of the optional resources available for them. And stationary bike was also being offered at one of our elementaries. But again, the
Mhm.
students maybe have seen it, or have been there, and I do like those different availability of items that the students will get to explore. Maybe they didn't get to see it in high school and stuff, so there's just too many kids. So we have too many students in high school,
Yeah.
and it's kind of hard to just have them take a break. So it's a little bit of a different schedule. But this is overall, it's a great idea, the lead center and the wellness hub,
Mhm.
really good.
Yeah,
So,
and we're trying to bring that awareness to, we all need to take a break sometimes.
Yes,
We need to
uh-huh.
relax, we need those
And it's
20
okay.
minutes.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, it's
So
good.
it's part of that awareness of the overall well-being.
Great job, great job.
Question.
Yes.
How many students are
Madam
you?
Chair.
I'm sorry. Miss
I'm
Davis.
sorry, Miss Elizondo?
I have a question,
Yes,
ma'am.
yes.
Can our board members going to have access to the lead center? I would love to go.
Students only.
Students.
Maybe if we like record an instructional video. we can invite them.
I do have a question. How many students are you going to be servicing this summer?
This summer, the grant has a baseline of 0, but we are aiming for the projected 200 students, which is what is expected years 2 through 5 of the grant.
Okay.
A more realistic number is going to be 100 for this year, based on registration and confirmation of attendance, yes.
And how will the students know?
Right now, we're targeting students that are enrolled in the co-rec for the fall,
Okay.
and those that either withdrew or did not complete the course in the spring, the co-recs in the spring. So we're
Why don't-
emailing them.
Why don't we take the applicants that are coming in this fall and haven't passed TSI? Can we get that number, Mr. Dimas? Can you share that list with her? Okay.
That'd be a great idea.
And those are the only students that would be able to use the lead center? Or it's
No.
open to,
It's open to
All
all Laredo
students.
College students.
okay, perfect.
So that one is a little bit more broader accessibility. But your summer bridge program is for those students
Brilliant.
that have not mastered the TSI.
Yes, and
Okay.
those summer bridge students are going to have a little bit of different requirements as they go through the year. So
Mhm.
visiting with either the counselor or like a success coach on informal meetings to just gain what progress they're doing, how they're feeling, visiting the centers. So those students are going to be the primary cohort. And then we will also be collecting data for just LC students that are utilizing both of these spaces on campus.
That's
So
what I was
that's
gonna
gonna be-
ask. So you do continue to monitor in case they need extra assistance. Let's say somebody comes to the summer bridge program and they're not successful. They're gonna have to take the remedial courses, is that correct, right?
Yes.
So do you offer them continuous assistance, or it's just like a one-time, or how does that work?
No, we're going to offer continuous assistance. So the support will be there, both academic, and then we have the mental, physical support as well. If a student doesn't pass one of the classes like the semester, we could offer workshops. So that would be, once we get this cohort going,
Mhm.
planning for those workshops, TSI preparation.
That's good. That's good. Very good.
And on the outcomes, right?
Yes.
Very good.
And lastly, you already hired the LPC, right?
We have not hired an LPC.
But it's
yet.
open.
It is open.
Okay. Because part of the grant is to hire a licensed
Professional counselor.
professional counselors to provide those services.
Very good.
Mhm.
Very good, thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Number 6, enrollment update with Dr. Fred Solis.
Oh, I can accept.
John. By the way, this is for Elaine's first board meeting, so
This
thank
is-
you. Elaine.
Welcome, Elaine. Thank you so much. Great job.
Okay. This one. Good evening, Madam Chair, President Ramirez, colleagues, Fred Solis, Vice President for Student Success and Enrollment, and presenting alongside with me tonight is also
Good evening, Jessica Trevino, Associate Vice President of Enrollment Management for the record.
where to begin. So tonight we're going to be discussing or presenting our enrollment figures as of now. Before I jump into the actual graphs and numbers, I just want to Okay. Sorry about that. So just to add context to the numbers that we're going to be presenting, we've been in registration mode already since the April the 6th or so. And so right now, the next coming summer term is going to be our summer session number 2, which will commence on July the 10th. Technically, there's 11 more days of working days of registration leading up to summer session 2. And as you'll see in a few more slides, our numbers are looking very favorable for summer session 2. For the fall semester will begin on August the 19th. We still have 39 working days till the start of the first class day for the fall. And so again, I'll be presenting the graphs of where we are with our fall enrollment. To help augment our registration and enrollment numbers at this time, we're also taking advantage of some of the upcoming Saturday events that we have planned, otherwise known as Palomino Saturday events. And so the Enrollment Management Division has come together to open up the campuses on 3 separate Saturdays, beginning on this coming Saturday, June the 29th, followed by July the 27th, and then August the 17th, right before classes commence on the 19th. So looking at the summer session number 1 enrollment, this term is already closing out pretty soon. We ended up with a 10% increase over where we were last year at the start of the summer term. So very positive numbers for summer session number 1. Summer session number 2, we still have ongoing enrollment. As I noted earlier, there's still 11 days of registration going. And as of now, we're already 17% ahead for summer session number 2. And everything looks like it will continue peaking as it is currently at this time. For the fall enrollment, I do not want to alarm anybody, but technically we are 64% behind the first class day enrollment. However, this is where we were last year at this time as well. So we're averaging about 46, 49 students per day. And so our trajectory is that we're going to have to continue our enrollment initiatives, augmented by some of the things that have already been mentioned, such as the debt forgiveness program, which is something that's going to be going before the Finance Committee tomorrow night, along with the Palomino Pledge to help with tuition support for students. Additionally, when the last time you heard the fall enrollment report, which was back in May, over 598 students, close to 600 students have already registered, and will continue registration for the next 39 days or so. So still on track. Compared to where we were last year, we're on par. So don't let that number alarm you, but that's where we need to get. That's how much we have to make up between now and the start of fall semester. Any questions at this time?
Yes, go ahead. So what I wanted to ask is there a possibility to add some other data? That
Absolutely.
includes how many full-time students have we registered, right?
Okay.
Because in speaking in the retreat,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Now we're correlating with the number of full-time
Full-time.
students.
Right.
How many graduates you have projected to, let's say, graduate from the bachelor's program? I know it's coming up, and I got ahead of myself. I
No,
just
no.
started reading the rest of the stuff. I'm sorry. But if we could, because I know the number, we have 8,806 for the first class day, 2023. We're still missing the duals, which is, I mean, you will see it, right?
Right,
We'll see it
right.
there. But how many students register for full-time? Now that we have the 8-week courses, does that is that better? Do you see more students registering for full-time and versus the half-time? I'm only gonna take one course the first 8 weeks and then another course the 8 weeks, you know what I mean?
Right.
So putting it together, we can kind of sort of equate to what we are going to see in the budget
Mhm.
ourselves, because now we know we're thinking about the number of graduates and the number of students that are registering for full-time.
So certainly we can include that number in our periodic reporting that we do for enrollment numbers. In terms of the success of the 8 weeks, there is a presentation that's going to be
Yes.
presented by Dr. Horacio Salinas. And so he should be able to answer some of those questions in terms of the success. But definitely disaggregating the data between full-time students, part-time students is certainly something that we can include.
Just so, I'm just asking so that we can.
It's easy.
It
Yeah,
can
it's not a
be
problem. It should all be one
correlated.
presentation, not
Yeah,
separate presentation.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So that way we'll see it and it'll start making a little bit more sense.
Sure.
With the money coming in and how it's, you know, how Mr. Vela gave us that sheet that had all the ways that the money is coming in different directions and the percentages, that we can see the numbers from the admissions place and see how it's all gonna work
Play out.
together.
Okay, yeah,
Yes,
definitely.
ma'am.
Suggestion.
Sure. Well taken. As the enrollments relate now to the continuing education or the quarter courses, we are in quarter number 4, which is a 3-month period of June, July, and August. Where we were last year, the quarter ended with 749 enrollments. Currently, we're at 251, just for the month of June. And so if you break that down times 3, pretty much we are on par to end up with 750 or so students, if not more. And so thanks to the continuing education department that's setting up that programming or schedule of courses, they're the ones that are making this number happen. And so since the last time this was reported back in May, over 213 students have actually enrolled in the continuing education courses, which are the non-credit courses. And now we have Ms. Jessica Trevino, who will continue the presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Solis. Okay, so for financial aid, I do have an update for everyone. We are currently at 6,251 financial aid applications received. That is a 700 applications increase from May to now. So we received an additional 700 applications. We are still behind of where we were last year, close to 5,000 applications, 4,949, as you can see there. But we are continuing to receive applications as we receive them, we process and we package. With that being said, we did receive an additional 700 applications, but we only increased one student from May to now in the number of verification of files that we have to complete.
Okay.
So 1 out of 700 is a great number to have in terms of verification. So that also speaks to the fact that the feds are coming through with the relaxation of the verification process to alleviate some of the burden that we have been discussing over the past year regarding financial aid. I am happy to present that close to 4,000 students have been packaged for the fall. I do want to mention a little bit more of what is included in that package. We are not only awarding students their federal program, which is their federal entitlement, but we are also making sure that those packages are juicy and complete by including Texas funds. So the SEOG, the OCT PEG, the TEOG, and of course, institutional scholarships that we may be awarding the students are being included in these financial aid packages so the student has a clear picture of how much they are getting. It does go hand in hand with your suggestion, Ms. Amos, regarding the explanation of what financial aid is. We do go in depth during this new student orientation to actually explain the difference between each one. What is a grant? What is a scholarship? What is a loan? Which and the fact why we don't offer them. And moreover, we express and deeply try to make sure the student understands how to keep their financial aid. Because one thing is getting it and having it for that first semester, but the second is actually keeping it and making sure that they do not fall into financial aid warning or financial aid suspension. As of today, out of the 3,902 students who have been offered financial aid, 2,145 of those has been enrolled. That is an additional 993 from May to now. These are students who have been packaged with financial aid, not overall enrollment. Questions with financial aid thus far? I do want to make an additional clarification to what Dr. Ramirez mentioned, that we will not be issuing out any institutional money or scholarships to students unless they have a FAFSA application on file. However, I do want to include that students who submit a TASPA application will also be in compliance. So the federal or the state application is good. The only scholarships we will issue out to students with no application are to students who are true I-20s or true foreign students. So if they're true foreign students, they are ineligible to apply for FAFSA or TASPA, but they must be a true foreign student and able to be eligible for a scholarship. Okay.
And meet the requirements.
And meet the requirements of eligibility, of course. Yes, definitely. So last month, we presented to you a new payment plan option for students. So this payment plan option is available from now till July 9th, and this actually included a much lower down payment to enroll in the payment plan, which was of 25%. As of today, we've got 8 students who have taken advantage of this payment plan. So it's beginning to pick traction. And again, these are students who are being proactive because these are payment plans for fall. So we've already got 8 of those students who are looking forward to fall who are on a payment plan, but we're still looking at other options for financing for these students as well.
Mr. Trevino, may I ask?
Yes, go ahead.
Why do we have the payment plan if we're gonna have, well, we're assuming we're gonna have the pledge, right?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
This is our
Okay,
backup
all
plan.
right. All right.
But may I say?
Go ahead,
something?
yes, Ms. Ramos.
Yes.
I think this is good for, again, we're talking about those people, the students that like, that they don't have any recourses
Right,
and they have to pay for the class.
right.
So even the payment plan is useful for those that get the financial aid because one, they don't know what's gonna happen like
Right.
from now till then. So then they start making sure they get their classes secured and stuff.
Right.
But the non-traditional student who doesn't have access to financial aid per se, doesn't qualify.
But they will still qualify for the Palomino pledge.
But that's what I was gonna say. So they'll still qualify for the Palomino pledge.
Yes,
Okay.
We're trying to make the requirements for the Palomino pledge as broad as possible in order to try to get everyone.
Mhm.
However, there will still be some students who are currently under financial aid suspension, financial aid warning, who don't have the GPA needed to continue receiving some financial funding. So although we would love to say the Palomino pledge will catch them all,
Mhm.
there will still be a few stragglers that may take advantage of this payment plan option. Now, this was our first proactive move before the Palomino pledge becomes a reality to get this advertised and moving to students. We wanted to see what the adoption of the argument has always been the initial down payment is too high. So we wanted to make sure we would cut that in half to see what the traction of that would be and move forward from there.
And how do students get all this info?
So this information right now is being shared through our social media platforms. That's
Okay.
where we're going, and through the new student orientation. So that's where the financial aid application has a lot more components than just financial aid. We talk about employment on campus, we talk about payment plan options, and we look at the student's individual finances. The student logs in to look at their own profile to know, am I expecting a refund or am I expected to make a payment? And here are my options. So yes, that's how we're communicating now. So again, this is a safety net in addition to the Palomino pledge.
And now that if, when we do consider the Palomino pledge, it would be good to know how many students fall in that category that, they're in suspension. I mean, numbers, we're just
Right.
talking about numbers.
Mhm.
Because like, we're talking about that debt forgiveness too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't necessarily take you out of the FAFSA suspension.
Right.
Yeah,
That is correct.
it takes a lot of other steps.
Right.
And then some people just don't never get out of it.
Right.
Right? So, but it's good to know because also, like you said, they need to realize that their financial aid is prudent to accomplishing the classes as fast as they can or as in a timely manner, because then they won't have anything left for
Right.
for the university
Right.
part when they want to finish up their bachelor's or if they stay here, right? So just maybe just figuring out of the whole amount of people, how many are not gonna be able to qualify and of course, those fall under another different category, like Dr. Ramirez was saying, so.
Yes, definitely.
Good to know.
Yes, definitely. We will disaggregate the numbers so that you know which ones don't qualify and why.
And in a timely manner, that takes a couple of, a couple of months to kind of sort of like work it out as the data comes in. It's not like tomorrow. So
And it'll be
please.
volatile data because a student may not qualify today, but after summer one, their GPA may have come up and now they qualify. So
Yes.
it'll be very volatile data that we'll be
Yes.
having, but we do want to have preliminary numbers, especially for Mr. Vela, so that we know what the expenses moving forward. But yes, definitely. In addition to that, I do want to mention that we do an activity during this financial aid presentation for orientation to actually explain to the students, how can I get into financial aid suspension, or what do I really have to do to fall into warning, to fall into suspension? And it's very eye-opening to tell a student, financial aid is not just about your GPA and making progress towards your GPA and passing your classes. There's also a very hidden component called PACE, and you must meet at least 67% of your attempted hours. You must pass them to continue getting them. So if you're registered for 4 classes, each one is 25%. If you drop 2, that's already a failure of PACE. So when we point it out to them in a more very simple to understand process, they understand that there's an addition to getting good grades and meeting that GPA, because usually the PACE is the hidden factor that gets everybody for
And
financial.
you have a certain amount of W's that you can get, right? And again, if you use all your W's here, then over there, you cannot use
Correct.
any more W's.
It's a state counter of W's, and we've also make sure we outline that in the student screening portion of orientation. We're trying to meet with every student. We're seeing how those 200 plus students that we're going to see this Thursday goes, but we're trying to meet with every single student, and we're screening their file from their admissions to their enrollment and to their payment option, because we want to make sure we catch that student now during orientation so that they know what they're missing or what to expect, what action to take in the future. So it's a very simple sheet. We're welcome to, I'll definitely share with all of you so you all can see whether I'm done. It's a checklist. I'm done, or I need to do this and that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
And then last but not least, this is our last slide. A lot of this was already mentioned. Dr. Solis did mention our Palomino Saturdays. Like Dr. Ramirez mentioned, you all are welcome to stop by. We will be having some refreshments, some popcorn, but all of our services for enrollment, including advising, will be open and available for students who can't make it during our regular business hours. Mr. Rivera did already talk about the new student orientation and the numbers. We will be part of the new student orientation again to make sure that all of our students are ready. But last but not least, I do have a commencement update. We are looking forward to our summer commencement ceremony, which is to be held on Friday, August 9th, 2024. This year, the summer commencement ceremony is for bachelor's graduates only. To just give you a quick update, Ms. Ramos, I did see those numbers today, and we are expecting 34 students to graduate from the Bachelor's in Organizational Leadership and 10 students to graduate from the Bachelor's of Science in Nursing. So a total of 44 graduates for the summer ceremony. We are getting questions on whether students from other disciplines will be able to participate in the ceremony. ceremony. And I believe as an institution, we're going to ask them to participate in the fall commencement ceremony. And this is just for the walking of the stage. The student can still graduate. The student will still have access to their transcripts. We can still order their diploma, but for crossing and walking the stage, we're going to ask the other disciplines to walk in the fall ceremony. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, times at this time are to be determined, and it is more than anything based on the number of graduates, the ones that meet the final count. Because we are going to host this at the MFA, the more graduates we bring, the least family we can accommodate per graduate. So we're trying to still figure those additional details and logistics for the students. Information should be forthcoming no later than next week for all students to prepare.
Thank you.
Last but not least, regarding commencement, I did not get to bring a picture of it, but we are redesigning our college stove. I can picture it to you real quick. It's the same green stove. It'll have the Laredo College logo embroidered, but now it'll have a gold trim all around it. So it'll be the green and gold on the college stove.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
No? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, then we'll move on to number 7, 8-week courses update. Dr. Horacio Salinas.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Ramirez, colleagues. I'm Horacio Salinas, the Dean of Arts and Sciences at Laredo College. And I'm here to present the results of the 8-week format for the academic year of 2023, 2024, and highlight some of the milestones, some of the great things that this format is allowing us to do as a college and for our students. First thing I want to do is to highlight the spring results, spring 2024, the first and second 8 weeks, the success rates. Last time, I think it was in February or so, when I presented, I did it for the fall 2023. So I want to start off with giving you the results of the 2024 first and second 8 weeks, and then I'll begin doing the entire year and then compare it with the fall semester. So as you can see, we have very high results, success rates. Success rates here, we're talking students who pass their courses with their A, B, and C. For the first 8 weeks, it was 84% of those students taking 8-week courses. And again, these are the non-dual. These are our students here. In the second 8 weeks, there is a little bit of a drop at 79%. And we noticed that for all 4 8 weeks, both in the fall and the spring. We can speculate as to why that might be, that in the second 8 weeks, the success rates tamper down a bit, but still very high, as you can see. The failing rate for the first 8 weeks was at 15%, second 8 weeks, 20%. Again, a low failing rate as well. The retention rate's very high. Those are all the scores except the W's. That includes the DF, the students who remained and stayed all the way through without dropping. The first 8 weeks was at 99%, second 8 weeks, 94%. And again, this is the spring 2024. Now let's do a comparison between the success rates of the fall and the spring first 8 and second 8 weeks in comparison with the regular semester, the 16 weeks of the previous year. I only took one semester. We were just wanted to compare it with the previous falls of 2022 and spring 2023. And as we move along, we'll continue to do some longitudinal data and look at patterns and trends. As you can see in the fall of 2023, the first 8 weeks was 81% success rate. The second 8 week was 75%. But when you compare those success rates to the regular semester, the previous 16-week fall 2022, that was 71%. So we are already beginning to see even in the fall of 2023, surpassing the regular semester. In the spring, the same thing, 84% in the first 8 weeks, 79% in the second 8 weeks, and a 77% for comparison with the spring 2023. Again, high success rates. What we're going to be seeing here is, while yes, there are challenges and opportunities for growth, what we're seeing here is after 1 year is a highly effective model that's characterized by high success rates, scalability, flexibility, and I'll talk a little bit about that in comparison with the 16-week. And it's going to allow for students to accelerate their academic progress and to graduate soon. And that also, of course, will help the college as well. So I decided to kind of put the bar graphs, a line graph here, just to illustrate that the top line there is the first 8 weeks from fall of 2023 all the way to spring 2024. Those are the same success rates I pointed out. In fall 2023 was 81, and it goes to spring of 2024, 84%. In the second 8 weeks, in the fall of 2023, the success rate was 75, and in the spring it was 79. But that in comparison to the fall and spring semesters, fall 71 in 2022, and about 77% in spring of 2023.
That's significant. It's good.
Huh?
That is significant.
Yes, as you can see, and it's amazing that even the first 8 weeks, and I think we can speculate, maybe it's the beginning of the semester, students are gung-ho, they're highly motivated, and so on and so forth. But even the second 8 weeks, as you can see, the line graph is still higher than the semester. What we're going to be working on is bridging the first and the second 8 weeks. There are some things that we're looking at, but nevertheless, I want to highlight that the success rates are still outstanding. So what are the key observations on what I just presented? Is that the 8-week model consistently shows higher success rates compared to the regular 16-week semester, at least the fall and spring of 22-23. The first 8-week period shows the highest success rates across both terms, indicating a strong start in the shorter session format. The second 8 weeks still maintains a higher success rate compared to the previous regular semester, although it does see a slight drop from the first 8 weeks. And the analysis suggests that the 8-week model may contribute to higher student success rates compared to the traditional 16-week semester. Now, here's another observation, and here's something that Ms. Ramos, you may have pointed out. But first of all, let me point out that the first time in college student in the fall of 2022 was 1513. And in fall 2023, when we began to scale up the 8 weeks, it went to 1721 for a difference of 208, almost 14%. Now, for full-time, now I don't have the numbers because we just finished the spring semester, but I can say that for the fall semester, when we compare the numbers of full-time student in 22, it was 2,104 students. But in fall 2023, look at that, a whopping 74% for a difference of 1,553 students who leveraged and took advantage of the 8 weeks and became full-time students. Okay, so that is one semester. It's likely that we will see the same for spring 2024 when we get those numbers. But to your point, this is the beauty of the 8 week. Students are becoming full-time. They're becoming full Pell Grant recipients, as well as accelerating their academic goals.
And I honestly think, I'm sorry, I honestly think that anytime anybody starts anything, those numbers are, you know what I mean, not that high. Once you see the success and the students get used to it, and the teachers and faculty get used to it, it becomes more successful and more successful. And more, that's what I think.
Yeah, the time to degree is certainly going to change, which means not only is retention up, but graduation rates will be up. We saw that in the graduation in May. I mean, we had a huge graduation, but I think it had a lot to do with students realizing, I only need 2 more classes. If I take them, I'll finish this May, and they did.
Yeah.
So I think that was extremely helpful.
And so the key observations from these observations here is a scalability, and that is the students if they can take at least 6 and 6, that's 12 full-time, they can become full-time. So it allows that scalability to continue. And as we can see, there were 74% on that fall 2023. The flexibility of the model allows for students, if they, for whatever reason, were not able to enter and enroll in the first 8 weeks or at the beginning of the semester, they can come in on the second 8 weeks. And we saw that in the fall of 2023, 710 students did take advantage of that. Now, we are working on our advising as a college. We want to encourage them to come in the first 8 weeks so that way they become full-time students. But nevertheless, that door is open for them in the second 8 weeks. And as you can see, 1,553 students in fall became full-time students. Now, I'm going to spend a little bit of time here because I think this is the meat and potatoes and really the scale of the success rates, and really where I think as a college and as faculty and of course students and everyone involved is doing a pretty good job of really focusing on the student to do well in their success rates. So all of the, as you can see, all of them have the same information for fall first and second 8 weeks and spring first and second 8 weeks. And that is students who took 6 or more semester credit hours. And again, when we look at the head count, we're talking dual students. I'm sorry, non-dual students, our regular students. We see that those who took 6 or more semester credit hours were 3,037. And the course success rate there was 79%. Now, what does that mean? Well, what it means is that I may have taken 9 hours, but I didn't get all of those hours. I may have failed, withdrew, but still had partial success. But what's outstanding is the second line, and I think that this is where the scalability will come through, is that out of those 3,037 students, 1,900 students earned 6 or more semester credit hours. And look at the course success rate, 93%. So if I took 9 hours, if I'm one of these students, I was able to pass my course at A, B, and C. So that's what's amazing about this, is that students are able to take 6 or more and can be successful. But even those that were not as successful for whatever reason, it could be partial credit, withdrawal, other reasons, those are the students that we want to try to persist from the first semester to the second. And if they're staying with us, like we saw in the retention rate, encourage them. This is where our faculty and all our advising and so on, we want to encourage our students. And the one way to do that is to continue to monitor student progress in our courses. As you can see in the second 8 weeks, 93% as well of students who enrolled in 6 or more who earned those credits was 93% success rate. That was 1,711 students in the fall. And in the spring, both first and 8 weeks was 94% of students earning 6 or more semester credit hours. But even those students who enrolled in less than 6 semester credit hours in all 4 sessions, the success rate was still very high, 82, 79, 87, and 81. So I think the bottom line to keep in mind there is that students really want to take more hours. We obviously don't want to encourage them to take so many per 8 weeks, some 9, but we don't want to encourage them so that they won't get burned out or, hurt themselves. But the advising is important here, but we can see the students are gung-ho for this. Here's just a graph that shows the middle bar is the earned 6+ semester credit hours, 6 or more, is the highest bar for all of the 8-week sessions. But look at that, still the success rates, 79, 93, 82, all the way across, they're still very good. Now, I'm going to just show you some of the results of the student and faculty surveys, but I want to give you a caveat here. I decided to show you the highlights of the success of the 8 weeks. But I'm still going to show you some of the data that came in for those that did take the surveys, both the student and the faculty. But I will tell you right now that it was a very small sample size. So for the students, there were 103 students who took the survey, and this is, their perceptions and, their attitudes about and feelings about the 8-week format. So approximately 3%, they all took it in the second 8 weeks of the spring semester. About 3% or so, 103 students of 3,591. A majority, 66% of these students had a positive or very positive view. In terms of impact of learning, 29% noted improvement. Some of them experienced a decrease in their ability to grasp material at 32%. Again, we're talking about those 103 students out of 3,500, almost 3,600. And then 24% indicated no change. And I thought about this, some of this, what appears to be tiredness is that they took a survey in the second 8 weeks, and what did we just see in the data? That in the second 8 weeks, they're a little bit more tired, right?
Even, I'm sorry, but even then,
It's still very-
the numbers don't match with the successes of the students. If you look at the percentages, even in the second 8 weeks, the numbers are much higher and your sample size is much smaller. I think the real question here is, how do we increase the sample size?
Right.
Mhm. Yeah,
How do we get more students to participate in the survey versus I don't think you have a reliable source of data because it's such a small.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree with you. As
Sample
I mentioned
size.
that, it's not even, it's an outlier. Because you're talking only 100 students. When we just saw the incredible amount, 1,900 students and all of them earning more than 6 hours. So one of the things that and I've been talking to Dr. Rodriguez and Dr. Tirina about this is maybe taking a look again at the survey, look at the questions, amend it if we have to, and maybe leave it on for a lot longer, rather than maybe just a week or two. And the same thing goes with the faculty. I'm not sure what others might, recommend, but
Maybe include it like when you get your teachers' evaluations or something, when it goes to all students. I mean, but I don't know, because then you're gonna give it to all classes, but I don't know.
it's available in Canvas, right?
Yeah, but it's on SurveyMonkey, you said, right?
Hmm.
That's food for thought. We have to
Yes.
think about how to make it more accessible and more reliable so that we have real data, because I think that we need to look at that data ourselves and get some reliable data from our students and not just do the second 8 weeks. I think we do it both 8 weeks, no?
We did it with time, but we could certainly consider
Yeah.
both and leaving it open and then just catching it at the very end. And getting more numbers.
If a student takes it one time, would it let them take it again? Or no? Because
I
it
don't
has
know. We
their
have to make
information.
that decision. If whether they did it in the first 8 weeks or the second 8 weeks, we would only require each student to do it once. Because you don't want them to do. You don't want to, you don't.
Because you want it to be valid,
You don't
like-
want to taint your data
Yes,
either.
exactly. You don't want one
Same
person to do it 3 or
Right,
4
right,
times.
right.
And you can't do it through the Google Forms?
We don't really
No, you
use
don't.
Google Forms.
You don't use
Yeah.
Google Forms?
We'll explore it. Well,
Yeah.
let's talk to the assessment group and see what they can come up with, because when we did the SESI and we did the what was it called, the FEFC? I mean, we had better results, so maybe there's a way to do that.
I think if you catch them in the students inside their courses,
Yeah.
inside their classes, that's the best way. Because they're there. But that's why I was wondering, let's say that I take, Miss Leandro was my teacher, right? And I take with her and I do it there. And then maybe my next hour, I go with Miss Ramos.
And then do it again.
That's why I'm saying if I take it
Mm-mm.
once, maybe it'll kick me out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Say, okay, well, and then that way the professor, the teacher, they can at least say, okay, you're done, out, you're done,
Yeah.
and
Well,
everybody, I don't know.
SurveyMonkey doesn't allow you to do a one-time collection. That the Google does.
Well, but we can do it with the student ID to avoid duplication, right? Yes, we just do unique links. That we can do it.
Yeah,
It's just
we-
a matter of when is the right time and how do we. And do we want to do it at the beginning, which is the first 8 weeks, or the second 8 weeks? And so let's talk to our assessment folks who. And maybe you and Dr. Tirina and Dr. Martinez can get together with Dr. Irasola and come up with a better plan. So that we increase our survey results.
And the validity of it.
Yeah.
No, that's why I said this is,
Yes.
but I still think that despite the low and maybe not representative sample, these are still areas that I think that it's important for us to work, just based on the fact that we noticed that drop off on the second 8 weeks.
Absolutely.
And we are noticing that, students are valuing, for example, the demand for support services. And I'm sure the support services team here can let you know that, they value that. And according to this sample, tutoring was big, class, and we saw that in the last survey as well. Faculty coaching, I think intuitively and anecdotally, we can see that that's of value, especially for students to help them continue to stay. Hey, don't give up. You're there, keep it going.
And that's for
Um,
faculty to know too, that this is what students are asking for. Because sometimes they'll be like, that doesn't really work. Well, if the students are asking for it, that means that's what's work, that's what
Mhm.
works for
Yeah.
them. So,
Dr. Ramirez,
Mhm.
what about if you use the Avaya texting feature and send the survey through them? If they're registered with the Avaya and then they answer it and it correlates back, like you could use that feature to let them know if they are
Well,
all,
we can send them a notification to go to their Canvas and do the
survey.
the survey. We'll come up with a plan.
Mhm.
We'll get you better data.
But, and so for the faculty, it was even a smaller representative. It was even
Oh,
smaller
yeah.
than last,
Yeah.
it was like 30 faculty last time. Now it's 22 in the spring. So about approximately 17% of faculty or so. But 91% making, looking to redesign our courses. I think it's important that everyone understands, and again, the college has done a great job with the support of the board, our president, and our provost, and everyone here, is that we also have the infrastructure there. We're working on it, the class, the support services, the assistance, e-learning, all of this has been going on, really has been going on since certainly always, but since COVID, we become more aware of helping our students in whatever possibility. So there are all sorts of initiatives that we continue to try to be at the forefront, and I'm sure you've heard of those initiatives. So here's the 8-week, and again, these particular faculty members, the majority felt that the pace was manageable. 18 neither agreed or disagreed, so it's neutral, and 23% disagreed, which is a very small percentage, maybe 4 or 5. 64% of this particular group believe there was sufficient interaction. And the challenges they identified were pace manageability, mixed views on student interaction, student understanding of subject matter. And here's just a pie chart, the manageability, neutrality, and not manageable. But, and I just bring this out. I thought about not bringing it because really the bottom line is the first few slides of this presentation is the meat and potatoes. The numbers don't lie.
Right.
They're telling you here that the students are taking advantage of the 8 weeks. It's becoming a success. We have to be on it. We have to improve. And I think we have the ability to do that. So for future recommendations, faculty continue with their development. Pedagogy and courses science, I certainly work very much with our chairs to design your courses to the 8-week or the 4-week or whatever you're teaching. Don't cram 16 weeks into an 8-week model or so on. So we're working with faculty on designing that, aligning objectives with the materials. Work on pace manageability. Again, these are opportunities, especially as a bridge between the first and second 8-week. Continue with students' interaction, support services, of course, and continue utilizing the data to refine and improve the 8-week model, which I know we intend to do and to provide for you. And lastly, the key takeaways, 93, 94% success rates for students earning 6 or more semester credit hour. 8-week format enhances focus and academic achievement. High student engagement with a 6 or more semester credit hour enrollment. The flexibility of the 8-week program benefits our students, and then the ongoing support for the 8-week initiative is crucial for student success and even beyond. And that, of course, aligns with the mandates of House Bill 8, as you can see. And again, I think that as we move along and it catches fire, as you mentioned, Ms. Benavides, that I think we will see great things. So, any other questions?
yeah, I just have a comment. So I'd like to see the survey also be implemented to all faculty. I think their voice needs to be heard also as well, because if you get feedback from them, it's not going to change that the 8 weeks is going to go into 16 weeks or whatever. But we're not going to go back because the numbers are good, but we're not really looking at a clear picture of what the faculty feels. Just we need to hear their point of view, because that will help you try to figure out what professional development is needed for them. Because if you have the ones that go back to the previous, before the bar graph or before the circle, one more. So you have 23% out of the 22 that said that the manageability of PACE, they disagree with it, right? So,
Out of 22 faculty.
right, out of 22, how many in total do you have faculty? About 180? 80? So where are those? Like, they're like, did they stay in the dark, or they're neither here nor there? They don't have an opinion, just so that we could see, because just like we value the student opinion, we should also take into consideration the faculty so that we can help them. I mean, you all can help them, but help them to figure out what is it that they're missing. Maybe they are missing something, and
I'd like to
adjustment
say-
is hard.
It's a very good point, but I will like to say that I think we try to do a good job. I know that I meet with my chairs every other week. And so does Dr. Tejerina, and Dr. Ramirez encourages us. And that is, we go to their meetings. We hear the department chairs we constantly are talking about what are the concerns? How can we meet this need? How can we do the need to professional development there? And I realize we also understand there's been one thing after another, right?
Mhm.
As we move along, but I think I also hear good things. I hear a lot of faculty saying, I'm a little hesitant, but now I'm beginning to like this format.
Yeah.
So with anything, it takes a little bit of time, but I just want to say that they're not ignored. I know it
No,
may
no,
not
no, I know.
reflect here, but I do take their feedback seriously, and wherever we can find solutions. One of the things we like to say is, okay, you're gonna vent? Perfect. Okay, now let's find a solution.
Yeah.
But I would also say that we're so data driven that something like this is crucial to how we're going to monitor the sustainability of the programs as we
Yeah.
go along. So from faculty's perspective and from student perspective, having that data available versus the speaking and you telling me because I can share with you everything that I feel that is not working for me in the classroom. But if I write it down, you can go back and say, look at the increase in the documentation that's happening. Look how well it's, how well we're doing. We've added these types of professional development. It's just another format for you to have that data with you. And then the next year, we're going to talk about, how the increase has the feeling has increased to a positive manner, because look, we did this one and we did that one. So it's always about comparing that data that goes from year to year. So just.
I agree.
Yes.
Marisol Rodriguez Tijerina, Provost Vice President of Academic Affairs. He's only presenting the spring 2024. We did it in the fall and we had a higher faculty. I think maybe their mentality at that point was, I already did it in the fall. I don't need to redo the survey. The other thing is we have to remember workforce does 4 weeks. So not all faculty are applicable to the 8-week. We
Right.
have the 4-week format with the workforce. So, and we did 2 surveys. So we're only presenting you the 8-week outcome, not the 4-week responses, which also were favorable. But again, this is something that during convocation, when we have them all together, we can provide like a QR code and then have them do the survey, give them time during that time that we have them all together in August and just reflect. So there's things, but again, I'm just very proud of the group, because I know when we made this commitment in 2021, 2022, you're talking about getting faculty to redesign their courses, and that is it comes with a lot of opportunities and challenges, right? But I think now, as Horacio says, transforming them and having them appreciate and seeing the success that has come with it is very valuable. Most importantly, just getting those students to convert to full-time. I mean, that's been our goal. It's not just about getting the numbers here. It's about ensuring that they're successful, because there's no point in getting all these numbers when they're not going to be successful and much less graduate. I think that's our main goal.
So we're very proud and Horacio led that whole task
Oh.
force. And because workforce had already done the 4-week for a while, and we were also seeing an increase in the certifications, completion. So it's all about completion and retention and success. So.
Good job.
And again, the last thing I'd like to say is that I think the culture and the environment is changing, the very fact that, Dr. Ramirez was allowed for, and when we had, more, in other words, more graduation ceremonies, students are seeing this.
Yeah.
They're beginning to see this. Oh, it's achievable. I can get there.
Yeah.
And then the faculty, then it'll snowball. Faculty will see, hey, the fruits of our efforts are right here before us. We
Exactly.
just have to catch fire, more fire,
It's there.
and
It's there.
we'll get there.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Okay, then we'll move on to number 8, new programs for fall 2024 and spring 2025. Dr. Heriberto Hernandez.
Dr. Hernandez is out today, so Dr. Tijerina will fill in.
Okay.
Marisela Rodriguez Tijerina, Provost Vice President of Academic Affairs, on behalf of Dr. Heriberto Hernandez, who couldn't be here today. Workforce Division Programmatic Update. So one of the new tracks on the CAD, the computer aided drafting, is that we took an architectural focus. As you recall, we started our engineering technology this year was our new year, and I think with the increase of awareness and enrollment that we started to get, the talk of, well, why don't you have an architectural focus also? So now this is going to start fall of 2024. We're on track with getting the first cohort. It's going to be about 20 students. We hope to get more. We do have a faculty member that's an architect who is basically, the creation of this curriculum. And of course, the goal is to get more students ultimately. The Global Logistics Center, you're gonna see this logo in the entrance of the La Garza. We're working on that on the Global Logistics Center. Although it's not a new program, we did revamp it. It still has a custom broker focus. But I think what's different now is that our chair is really trying to increase experiential learning. I don't know if you've seen on social media where the students are going out to warehouses, manufacturing, and pretty much learning the practical side of the logistics field. So we're hoping that this will start developing other tracks, probably the first one is going to be warehousing, maybe manufacturing. But at the end of the day, it's exposing them to different fields of the whole logistics field, which surprisingly is not a high demand field for the state. Obviously, it's a regional, so one of the advantages with the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board is that that's going to be one of the programs that we're going to submit for them to evaluate, because as you know now with House Bill 8, we have to really focus on those high demand fields. And but we can challenge or repeal the list, and obviously logistics is going to be something that we're going to propose to place as a high demanding field for Laredo. Fire science, we are projected, it's still in effect, but we had a struggle with getting a full-time faculty member. We finally did. So we're going to implement it spring of 2025. We're obviously working with the Laredo Fire Department and developing the curriculum and using their sites also. And I think this was brought up maybe 2 years ago, and
Yeah.
It's still around. And
Finally coming to fruition.
yes. And then one of the last programs for this year that we closed out was the forensic science technology. It was brought up to the board, I think during the time that was out for FMLA. It has recently been approved by the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. We're waiting we're going to submit it for SAC COC since it's a substantive change requirement. And so the program will be available fall of 2025. This actually came as a need for the Laredo Police Department. And the prime focus is going to be on crime scene processing and technology. So I think it's going to be really neat. Obviously, it's a big demand that is needed here for Laredo. And so we look definitely forward to that. And just recent program update, we're excited about construction management and engineering technology. Both programs continue to track a lot of traditional students as well as dual enrollment programs. Both areas are offering AAS pathways to incoming ninth graders. And possible programs are the power line technician, port reporting, industrial maintenance, plumbing. We're still evaluating, as you know, anytime we submit a new program, there's a lot of reporting that we have to look to ensure that it is a high demanding field. And most importantly, that the students are going to gain jobs. So we're still exploring these possibilities. Later, I know he didn't mention it here and I won't mention them yet, but we are working this summer on 2 bachelor's degree opportunities. So we'll present those. Our goal is in September. So I'll leave you with some excitement and suspense.
Can I ask you? Go ahead. The power line technician, is it the lineman?
Yes.
Okay. And then the core reporting can be
Certificate.
the certificate, right?
Well, some offer an associate degree.
Right.
Alamo, I believe SAC, San Antonio College, does offer an associate degree.
Yes, and then.
And they offer it in both areas, whether it's on the machine or on the speaking one. They offer it in both.
Yes.
Wow.
So there's 2 parts to that, and that's what we're evaluating. Yes, but there is a demand, and
There is a
so
demand. Yes, there is.
I think what we're looking at, aside from,
Yes.
I think we have interest in all of these areas. What we're looking at is cost of implementation. With the power line technician, the required equipment is extremely expensive, as is with plumbing. And that's why we've been toying with how many students can we actually put in 1 year through these programs, and what is the financial expenditure we're going to have to make head on, and can we get someone to support it? We do have a couple of grants sitting out there to support most of these programs. We're waiting to hear back from a couple of them. We're still keeping our fingers crossed on there are 2 major grants that we applied for, both over $2 million. So if we land one of them, we can certainly move forward with some of these, but the reporting and the data collection that has to be done through the department on, well, how many jobs are available out there before we even begin the program, the requirements, creating the curriculum. Do we have the equipment? Do we have the space? Do we have, it's a huge report that has to be done first to the coordinating board, well, first to you and then the coordinating board and then SACS. And so some of these may happen quicker just because they might be easier to implement faster.
Yeah.
So we'll keep you posted.
If I may add, the other, as Dr. Ramirez provided, the challenges is always the facilities, the equipment, but also the faculty resources. Because a lot of the times in the industry, they're making good money. And so to be competitive, you have to instill these nice little stipends, right, to get them on board here, and then finding the skilled faculty that are qualified to teach.
Mhm.
And we have to long-term, the sustainability of the program and the sustainability of differential salaries is critical.
Yes.
So.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much. No, adjournment. We have to have a motion and second.
That's it. Motion.
We are adjourned. Thank you. Thank y'all for your hard.
7:29.
7:29.
Yes, 7:29. Thank you, Betty. Yes, thank you. Bye, Patty, thank you.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.